welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and welcome to the second weekly reading vlog for the month of June. So I do have some books that I am carrying over from last week, so I'm not going to say a whole lot about them here, like what my thoughts are, anything, because I've already talked about them last week, so I'll link that vlog in case you didn't see it. But the books that are carrying over are Don Quixote, and I am 185 pages in on chapter 23, and then I'm also currently reading Knowledge of the Holy and Labyrinths, both of which I'm about halfway through, and they have both been really interesting reads that I've enjoyed and have intersected in a lot of ways that I was not expecting. I do have a couple of other plans of things that I either have started or plan to start in the next week, one of which is the Apothecary Diaries. This is a manga series, and I did start it. I'm not very far into it, but then I just kind of fell asleep. So as far as I can tell, what this is about right now is a young girl who's kind of forced into servitude in a palace despite having training as an apothecary, and she ends up tipping off like one of the king's consorts or concubines or something about something that's happening that is poisoning, and as a result gets hired to work now for that woman. It seems like it'll be really fun so far. This comes highly recommended to me from my friend Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space as just like a really cozy and fun manga. I also plan to, within the next week, pick up this. I'm not reading this entire volume, but I am going to read the novella in here, Edgedancer, which is meant to go between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer in the Stormlight Archive. I'm going to be reading this with my friend Whitney Drew, who I am reading through the Stormlight Archive with, which is super fun. So far we've read Words of Radiance and Warbreaker, which is technically not the Stormlight Archive, but it is part of the Cosmere, and now we're going to be reading Edgedancer together this month. So looking forward to that. It's about 150 pages, so I should be able to finish it within a week. Also, I have finished my audiobook because I was listening to Strange the Dreamer last week, so I need to find a new audiobook for this week. I've been doing a lot of spring cleaning the past, week or so, and listening to an audiobook has definitely been more motivating for me, so I want to find a new audiobook. But I think that this next week of reading is going to be probably a little bit on the weird side. Today is Saturday, June 10th, and I am actually having surgery on the 14th. Just kind of found that out recently, and they scheduled me really quickly, which was not expected, but actually works really well with my schedule this summer. It's not anything big. It's like gallbladder removal, but I've never had surgery before, so we'll see how that goes. But it's the perfect time for me to be deep cleaning. I always do it at the end of the school year anyway because I actually have time, but it will come in really handy as well for the house to be really clean before I have surgery and can't do anything for a little bit. All that to say, that could mean that I read a whole lot more while I'm recovering, or it could mean I read less for a couple of days while I'm recovering, just depending on how all that works and how much rest I end up needing. It's supposed to be like pretty simple, easy surgery, so I don't anticipate a very long recovery time at all, but it will be nice to have my house nice and clean anyway, but extra nice and relaxing when I need to kind of be a little more restful for a short time. So I will keep you updated when I end up choosing for my audiobook, because I'm just not sure. There are other books that I need to start this month, but I like to start books physically, and then once I kind of get settled in, then I like to pick up an audiobook, but I'm not sure how that's going to work. So I will keep you updated. It is surgery day, and so I figured I would do an update now because I probably won't do another update until like the end of the week, so I didn't want to update everything all at once. So I figured I would update you on what I'm still working on, what I've finished, all those kinds of things. So I am still working on Knowledge of the Holy and Borges, Loving both of them still. I am still reading Don Quixote, but I did switch to the audiobook. That helped me get through more of it. I'm honestly just not really loving it, and I really wish that I was, because I was at the beginning, and at this point I'm close to 40%. I want to say I'm like 37 or 38% through or something like that. So slowly creeping up on the halfway mark. At the point of the story where I am, I feel like there has been so many stories within the story. Like there's a point where they come to this inn and there's a novel there, and someone's like, oh, I'd love to read that. And someone's like, I'll read it out loud to you. And so he proceeds to read the entire thing out loud so we get the entirety of that story. And there's things like that that just, I don't know. It's just like, it's not that it's hard to follow, because it's not. I'm just not enjoying it as much as I thought I would. Other books that I'm working on or have finished. I did finish volume 1 of the Apothecary Diaries. I thought this was super fun. Her reactions to things is like really hilarious, because the consort has this assistant. Well, I guess maybe he's not the consort's assistant. He might actually be like working for the emperor himself, and he's like, okay, well, she's working for us, which is great because she's helped us, but we're not sure that we fully trust her. So he's decided that he's going to try to keep her in line by seducing her a little bit here and there, and thinking that like the flirtatiousness will kind of help kind of keep her, like, I don't know, wanting to stay near him. But her reaction is completely the opposite of what he thinks. And no woman's ever treated him like that, because he's so handsome and everyone swoons around him. And so he loves her reaction, but it's just so funny because she's just like, she literally says she looks at him like she looks at like a caterpillar or a bug that she's disgusted with. And every time he does something, she's like, why isn't he working? Why is he in all these places all the time? Like, this man has too much time on his hands, and it's just really funny. So I do plan to continue on with volume 2 for this, which I do have from my library. I also read, and this is definitely a bingo board space, I read for my most recently purchased, I just bought Lone Wolf by Reka Klassen. This is Chantel from Chantel Reads All Day's daughter, and when I saw that she published a book, I just had to get it. She independently published this. She did the artwork. How amazing is this artwork? It's just this little like slim kind of almost like novella, and the story itself is about foster care. So it's about this young boy who has been in 8 different homes, not counting the home he was born into, and at every place he feels like he doesn't belong, and he just gets shuffled from place to place, and he doesn't know why, but he just feels like he's not good enough and he doesn't belong anywhere, and so he feels like he's the lone wolf. And I love the way that Reka wrote this. I'm so impressed. Reka's like, she's 12 or 13. I can't remember exactly how old she is. And the fact that this is her first published work, like, is astounding to me at the age that she is, because her writing is so clear and there's so much that she infers without like outright saying it. Like, her writing skills are so good at her age, which is just really impressive. And I also love her humor in this book. It's so good. She kind of like interweaves these sad and gut-wrenching parts with a lot of humor, and it has one of the best openings of any book that I've ever read. So chapter 1 begins, there are many perfectly adequate ways to start a book, almost all of which have been done before. Number 1, start with Once Upon a Time. It's been my experience that these usually turn out to be fairy tales or the like. Number 2, start out with a death-defying scene that turns out to be the prologue, and the actual book starts with the main character waking up and making his or herself an omelet. Number 3, start by telling you so much about the characters and setting that by the time you started the actual book, you've forgotten all the information it just spent 40 pages telling you about. Or number 4, some start at the beginning. And so there's a lot of humorous things in here. And I also thought it was really fun because the beginning of most of the chapters also begin with some sort of fact about wolves, which was just kind of a fun way to weave that in. So this was really enjoyable. I passed it off to my daughter after I read it, and her and Reka are actually pen pals, and she absolutely loved it. She said it was amazing. She's read it multiple times already. So good job, Reka. You should be so proud of yourself, because this is phenomenal and we really loved it. Then I started Edgedancer, which I'm reading with my friend Whitney, who we're reading through Stormlight Archives together. So Edgedancer is this portion right here, this whole portion. I've read this part, so I'm 11 chapters in, and I still have this part left. So I'm enjoying it. This is from a character named Lift's perspective, and she is one of the interludes in Words of Radiance, and I really liked her and thought she was funny and sassy and quirky. And so this whole short story, or novella, I guess, because it's about 150 pages, all centers around her. So that's what I'm currently reading. But for recovery, what I really want to do is, there's a book that I've been wanting to read for a while, and it's actually my 5-star predictions for the quarter, so I kind of need to read it this month anyway, but I forgot to even put it on my TBR. But I really want to read it, and Penny reminded me that I forgot to put it on my TBR. Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. So my thoughts are, if I'm sitting around and I am laid up and can't do much for, you know, a couple of days, I might as well read something that's like totally immersive and I never want to put down anyway. So depending on how I'm feeling, I think I am going to pick this up. I mean, if I'm feeling like kind of out of it mentally, I want to be in a place where I can enjoy it. But I mean, it should be like a really quick recovery and should be pretty simple and straightforward. But this is a chunk of a book. Like, it is over 700 pages long. This is the final book in the Farseer trilogy, which I have loved both of those so much so far. Both of them are easy 5-star books for me. So yeah, I really want to read this one. So I think I may pick this up, and I should still be working on like Edgedancer, but I mean, Whitney and I are probably not going to meet together till like end of this month or beginning of the next month to talk about it, so I have plenty of time to read that. And I think for right now I'm going to keep Don Quixote as my primary audiobook if I'm listening to anything, and just not really read physically very much right now. I'm reading it with Miriam from Miriam Elizabeth Reads, which I think I keep forgetting to say that I'm reading it with her. And I think she might actually be DNFing it. She's not as far as I am, but she's just having a really hard time and is in a reading slump. And I'm like, it's not just you, I'm struggling with it too. If you're feeling like you're in a slump, feel free to DNF it. It's totally fine. So I am continuing on with it right now, but I think I'm just going to continue on with it as an audiobook and just kind of see how that goes. And then I'm going to try to still continue reading Borges, and definitely going to continue reading Tozer throughout my recovery. I'm not sure if I'll be able to read Borges the first like day or two, depending if I'm still like loopy from anesthesia or anything like that. But this is the one that I want to pick up. This is the one that I want to read. So I think I'm just going to do it and ditch everything else if I need to. Friday. I'm here in my post-op glory. This is like the first day that I felt remotely human, so counting that as a win. So I just wanted to come on here and kind of wrap up the vlog and talk about some stuff I finished and started. So I am still reading Knowledge of the Holy, but I haven't read any more of Don Quixote or Borges. I did finish Edgedancer and I liked it. I thought it was fun because I really like Lift as a character, so I enjoyed it. I don't really have much to say about it, honestly. I guess it's further development on further Radiance, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have as much to say about it, I guess, and that's also probably partly because of the time period in which I was reading it. I did start Assassin's Quest. I am like 150 pages in, which is only like 6-7 chapters. Robin Hobb writes really long chapters. And I'm enjoying it so far, but I'm not liking it as much as the other books so far, partly because it feels like super depressing, which is, you know, normal. But I think I'm just missing a lot of the people that are normally surrounding Fitz, and he's kind of like off by himself right now. And so I'm missing a lot of those people, and it's making it not quite as enjoyable for me to read, which is not to say that I dislike it in the least, because that's not true. I'm actually still enjoying it. I really love Robin Hobb's writing. I love Fitz. I love Night Eyes. I love both of them, but I'm really missing a lot of the other characters that I'd come to know and love, and there's just kind of a break from those kinds of things, and that's all I'm gonna say, so that way it's not spoilery. And then I did start Return of the Native. I've only read like a couple of pages, but I'm supposed to be reading this for our homeschool group. We started a mom's book club, so that'll be super fun. And this was the book that won the poll for the first month, and so this is the one that we're reading. And I've heard a little input from people that say that they're enjoying the writing, but it's very slow going for them. So I'm like, you know what, I should probably start this now and not wait till the last week of June, because I also still need to start and finish Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton as well. So I haven't even gotten to the story of this at all, so I don't really know what it's about. I'm still very much in the introductory stages, but I love Thomas Hardy's writing, so I'm sure that I will enjoy it. There's only been one book of his that I've hated and one that's been okay, and then I've loved the other several of his that I've read, so I hope that this will fall into the love category also. I have some friends who read it semi recently and said it's not as depressing as a lot of his books are, so we'll see. But it will be fun to have like an in-person book club to discuss it at the end of this month. So yeah, so those are my reading updates for right now. This is actually like the first time I've really been outside or sat outside for a couple of days, so the fresh air is feeling pretty nice. But sorry that this has kind of been a lackluster update. Usually I have a lot more to say about what I'm reading, but not today. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Leave a comment, let me know what you've been reading lately. Hopefully you're enjoying the things that you are reading. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me. And I will see you again next time.